Hello and welcome back to Airbus What's It Doing Now, and to another episode in the series So You Want to Be a Commander. In the previous episode I asked you for your comments and suggestions about material, and it's been overwhelming actually, the response. I think this is going to be a really particularly interesting and popular series within the channel. So thank you to everybody who contributed. In this episode, I go through some of the suggestions and some of the suggested material, and also perhaps the way in which I might present it, which may also include some live streaming when we're talking about sort of scenario situations and things. So that's something I'm interested in looking at as well. It'll be a new experience for me and new for the channel, and maybe even a new experience for yourself as well. So I'm just looking at different ways in which we can present it to make it more interesting and to make it more interactive, because I think we have a wealth of experience out there, and it would be useful to sort of make use of that, I think. So hope you enjoy the episode, and thank you again for your comments and suggestions and your input. It's enormously valuable in making this the sort of series that you want, and to make it as valuable and as useful for you as we can make it. So thanks once again. Keep the plate spinning, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel Airbus What's It Doing Now, and this in another episode of the series So You Want to Be a Commander. The last time I came to you, we had a completely blank board, and I asked you for your input on what we should be focusing on when we look at So You Want to Be a Commander as the sort of Command Ground School series evolves. And I'm super delighted that many of you came up with some cracking suggestions. So like I said, it's your channel, so whatever you want to see on here, that's what we'll look to achieve. A lot of suggestions come through, some on a similar theme, so what I've tried to do is group them here to sort of cover everything. Of course, if there's anything else you want to see, keep the suggestions coming. It's obviously a work in progress here, so we can develop this channel together to make sure that it's what you want to see. I've started really by sort of dividing it into two, some tech and non-tech, and as you can see here, the majority is non-tech, which is exactly what I would expect to see, because it's the non-tech CRM side of things that are really important skills which we want to raise awareness of as part of the Commander series, and in what makes a good commander. So I won't talk too much about it. I'll elaborate more when we go into the actual headings and subheadings. So on the left hand side, we've got tech here and some of the things I'm going to look to cover. The performance and the weight and balance I'm going to do together, because I've promised for some time now that we're going to look at performance, so I'll get that done in this series, I promise. Yeah, so weight and balance and performance, we'll look at some of the definitions. I'm not going to go into performance in huge detail, just like I have on the rest of the channel. It's practical application, because I think that's what's really important here. But we'll have a look at the meanings, and we'll have a look at some, because a lot of people have asked me for winter ops as we come into that sort of phase of the season now. So I'll look at contaminated and non-contaminated performance, how the two compare, some of those definitions there, and some of the matrix which your company may use and able to help you to go through your performance calculations. And we'll have a look at the difference between performance dispatch and in-flight performance as well, and what that really means for us and why the two are different. So we'll have a look at some of those things for you. Command responsibilities, yeah, lots to cover in there. Now, your ops manual will be written differently to my ops manual, so I'm not going to say exactly what's in our manual, because I'm not at liberty to do that, but we'll look at some of the common themes of commander responsibilities. I think that's quite important, because I think broadly there will be very similar, or what our company's idea and mechanism is to make commanders aware of their authorities and responsibilities and their powers. So what do we got onto that? So that's the technical side of it. So that won't take long. And yes, performance, as I say, I will do. Non-tech. So this decision making and scenarios and diversion planning. So this is a big one, and I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you some scenarios that have happened to me. And what I might actually do with this is I might do, here we go, it says moving into 21st century now. I might actually do this as a live feed. So just as we are now, I'll probably say, right, tonight at 9 o'clock, we're going to look at diversion planning, and we're going to look at scenario A. What would you do now? What would you do if? You know, what's going through your mind? What are some of the considerations you've got at the moment? Safe, legal, commercial, all that sort of thing. So I think that could be quite lively, and I think that could be quite exciting to do. And we'll see how it goes. You know, if I'm stood here on my own talking to myself and there's nobody logging in on the live feed, I won't do it again. But I suspect actually it'd be quite an interesting one for new, existing, early and established commanders, because your thoughts here will put together a great melting pot of experience that we can. And I think what I'll do is I'll read them out as they come up. So yeah, I mean it'll be on an open forum, and there'll be no right and wrong answers particularly, but it might be something you think, hey, you know, I hadn't thought of that, or that's a great tip. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I want to do that. What have I got there? Failure management and structure. Now I've covered this in failure management in the channel, but I did it a while ago, and some of you use something different to DODAR, and they follow a similar sort of pattern, but I'm going to go into more of that in a little bit of detail in the failure management structure thing, because I think there's a few little tips in there which can come in quite handy. So we'll look at the structure, we'll look at the process, and just more importantly, I think, why we have the structure, and how when we are managing failures, for example, some of the things that we need to consider. And I think what I can do is I can bring that in with the sort of the live feed and the scenarios. So once you have your failure structure there, and you've got some sort of structure to your management, you can apply that then to the scenarios. So I think I'll probably do that first and then do the scenario planning afterwards. Who would I like to fly with? Cultures and behaviours. This is an excellent one. We've all flown with commanders that we necessarily wouldn't enjoy doing the same experience again. Dare I say, that's the truth of it. Sometimes there are, and those people are out there. And there are others where you thought, that was a great day. I learned a great deal from that person. I enjoyed my day. It was a great experience. It was a safe day. And, you know, I got something from it. So we'll have a look at some of the differences and behaviours and the sort of captain that you want to be, and perhaps, you know, you can share some of those experiences on the channel. Perhaps you've got a role model. Perhaps you want to be like somebody. Okay. Now, one thing I say to commanders and new commanders is, we don't want you to change. You are who you are ultimately, and your qualities. You'll bring those qualities into the operation, but there'll be a certain characteristic and a certain character that you would like to embrace, and a way that you want to be with your crew. And I think that's an important thing to discuss. Cultures come into it, behaviours come into it, so we'll take a look at that. One of the other questions is, when is the right time to apply? And what the question I got, I've had this a few times actually, but was from a legacy carrier subscriber. And it had obviously been there for some time, and it was basically based on seniority. And from what I understand, this chap was feeling sort of ready sort of quite early, but, well, not early, but, you know, earlier than, if you like, these seniority would arguably allowed, but when do you feel ready? At what point do you feel inside that you're ready to make that step? And I know when I was, and I think what I'm going to do is give you my feeling on that and my view on it as to why I felt ready and the time that I felt that I could make that next step. CRM human behaviours are two sort of linked into who I like to fly with, but I'm going to look here much more deeper into the CRM skills, such as workload management, managing time and tasks, managing interruptions and distractions, how we do that, how we prioritise, planning and prioritisation, and delegation of tasks, who we delegate to. Now that's a really important one as a commander, because you need to make sure that, I'm giving away all the topic information now, but I think this is an important one to talk about now, because I've seen this done well and I've seen it done not so well, and giving a task to somebody when they're just either one, not ready to do it, or two, not overly capable of doing it. And I've kind of seen the fear in the faces of some of the CMs when they've been asked to do something. I just thought, I'm really not comfortable with that. So I think that's an important one. So delegation, whilst it's a powerful tool in terms of workload management, it needs to be done right. So I'm going to touch on those subjects. Situation awareness, how we anticipate threats, identifying areas of vulnerability. This is a sort of a new buzzword at the moment, where we're more vulnerable when workload is high, when the operation's more at risk. And being aware of other people in the operation. Now, another subscriber said, and it was a brilliant comment actually, and it's about our awareness of and well-being of our people. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think sometimes we do. So it's a great comment actually. We're so wrapped up in the operation and efficiency and our little role that we forget about some of the decisions that we make and the effect it has on other people. And sometimes the effect of long days, delays, go-arounds, diversions, and the effect that fatigue affects that has on our colleagues and morale and that sort of stuff. So it's a really important one. That so I'm going to touch on that. Well, more than touch on it. We're going to cover that in quite some detail. Leadership and teamwork and the importance of creating the right atmosphere. Wow, I mean, isn't that important? That goes back to what sort of captain do I want to be? Do I want to be, banging, with a stick, or do I want to dangle a carrot kind of thing? So what sort of person are you? But the importance of creating the right atmosphere. There's two of us on the flight deck at the end of the day, and if you're quite an autocratic person, naturally that's something you might want to work on in encouraging input from your pilot monitoring, from your FO, from your first officer as it will be. You've worked in situations with captains that are good at doing that, and you'll have worked with some that perhaps aren't so good at it. We owe it to our passengers to have two crew working together along the same model, with the same expectations, and the ability to question each other and to correct something, if something hasn't happened, or if something was done incorrectly, or something that perhaps wasn't spoken about or briefed. We have to have an environment where both pilots are able to communicate in that way as adults and mature and intelligent people. Very important indeed. One of the first things I say, and whoever's flown with me, I'm a training captain, I've been flying for 20 years, but I make mistakes and I do forget things. And in fact, as I get older, I seem to forget a little bit more and more. So I want the first officer to feel empowered to tell me. Yeah, we've all been there, sector 4 on the last sector of the day, and it's getting late at night, it's knocking on for a 10-hour duty. You're tired, and you need that a fresh set of eyes, if you like, or another set of eyes, and the ability for that person to feel like they can say something. And it's all about setting that right atmosphere. Being open and honest. Crikey, yes, that's a big one, isn't it, really? As commanders, surely we know everything. Surely we can't make mistakes or get anything wrong. And when we do, well, not my fault, is it? We have to be open, and honest, because that's how we learn when we make mistakes. We have to be a little bit, understand that we're just skin and flesh and water, like that's all we are, and a soft tissue behind the ears. We do make mistakes, but being open and honest will help and encourage the right environment in the flight deck. Problem solving, decision making, informed decisions. People that are not impulsive, and search for the right sources for information before making a decision. This is a good one, and again, this is what makes a good commander, is somebody that uses all of sources of information around him or her. By the way, if I ever say him as a captain, I mean him and her. I probably should have said that at the beginning. So we're non-binary on this channel. Non-binary, I'm not sure that's the right thing to say either. But anyway, you see where I'm going, okay? If I say him, I mean him and her. So the captain, a good captain, uses all the resources around him to find as much information as he or she can. It's going to be a long one, isn't it? Before making a decision, so not impulsive. Now, I did have a episode called The Chimp Paradox, which I pulled because I wanted to make some changes to it. I haven't got round to doing it again. And I might just do that after this series, or within this series. But if you haven't read it already, it's a fantastic book by Professor Steve Peters, I think it is, called The Chimp Paradox, and it's excellent. It talks about the three parts of the brain: the chimp, the human, and the computer, and it's a great read, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's really important when we're faced with difficult decisions or startle, to have an understanding of really what's going on in your brain. It's all perfectly normal. That sort of fight or freeze effect is basically your chimp bouncing around inside your brain. Anyway, if you've not read it, you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you get some time and you've got a bit of downtime, then go read it. It's brilliant, and it's available on Amazon on Audible books as well. My command priorities. So what is my command priorities? So what is important to me? We're all individuals at the end of the day, and we must stay that way. We don't want to change anybody, but especially for early commanders, what keeps you safe? What keeps you in your safe bubble? What's really important to you to sort of manage those early years of command, just while you're building up your experience? So command priorities are going to differ depending on where you are in your career. So that's an important one. And lastly, practical common sense. Wow, who said that? Genius. We have to be practical and apply common sense. The Ops manuals, FCTM, Ops A, Ops B, can't be written, or particularly Ops B, can't be written for every single scenario. So sometimes when we're thrown a bit of a curveball, when we're presented with something that we've not seen before, it's very easy to sort of say, oh, well, it says this, and well, it says this, and this is not clear, this is not clear. Sometimes you've got to sit back and say, what is the safest, most sensible, and most practical thing to do? And I think sometimes we miss that. I think sometimes we're so focused on doing what the right thing all the time, and that's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But sometimes the answer's just staring you in the face. Sometimes the answer really is quite simple, and those solutions, the simple solutions, are usually the best. Good. Okay, so I'm not going to babble on anymore. It's gone on for 16 minutes or more. That's what I've got so far. Please keep the suggestions coming, and I'll be busy now getting some of these briefings together as part of the command series, and working out how I do a live feed. I've said I'm going to do it now, so I'm going to do it and give it a go. Thanks very much for watching, as always. Keep the plate spinning, and I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Thanks very much.